Good morning, Poet fans. Welcome to WCPoets.com and another edition of our Alumni Feature Friday. I'm Lance Franey, Associate Athletic Director for Communications here at Whittier College. And today joining me on our segment is Shaina Denny from the Women's Lacrosse Team Class of 2014. Shaina, thanks for hopping on with me today.
Hey Lance, how's it going? I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, it's great catching up with you and, just thinking about it back in 2014, being an alum, I felt like it was just recently that you had graduated. But how has quarantine been for you?
That's a pretty loaded question. But overall, definitely we've been able to see the light. It's, I think, been a challenging period for everyone, but have a lot to be thankful for. I actually launched a business in January 2020, only about 2.5 months before COVID really hit, or impacted us here in the States. So it's been an interesting and wild year, but I've been thankful to be healthy and my family during this time.
Now, are you in touch with former teammates?
Yeah, I've stayed in touch with quite a few folks from Whittier, including teammates, especially also other professors and other classmates too. In terms of teammates, obviously, if you remember my best friend, Amaya, we actually went to elementary school, middle school, and high school together. And then we both got recruited to Whittier Lacrosse. So we played, so definitely in touch with her and some other folks that I speak with frequently. Haley Kleine from the team. Actually, we just had a socially distanced meetup about 3 weeks ago or so in my backyard, and speak with a few other people, mainly online right now.
Now, you graduated back in 2014. Take me through what you have been doing since graduation.
Yeah, so right after graduation, I ended up going to grad school and pursuing my master's of international business in China. So graduation was around, I believe, May, and then I moved to China just a few short months later in August, and I ended up staying there for about 3.5 years. After I got my business degree, I stayed in China to work, and then that brought me back to Los Angeles mid-2017, and then was working for a little bit before I started my own company here. I've also been able to co-teach and be a guest lecturer at Whittier College. During my undergrad time there, I had a close relationship with Dr. Duran, who was my mentor as well, and a great professor. He was my advisor. And so I was able to co-teach and come into his classes for international business, international marketing, and help some of the students with my real life experience, what inspired me, how I was able to do it. And then I've also just this summer completed my 4th year teaching the SYOB, Start Your Own Business online course for Whittier with Dr. Duran.
And how is it going from being a student at Whittier College to now at this point teaching some classes at Whittier College? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think now I'm a little further removed. As I said, it's been my 4th year, but definitely on year 1, I was still really close to whether that's the same age or experience as most of the students. So I think even now I try to think about when I was in their shoes and sitting on the other side, and then basically understanding what was important to me at that time. So I think because it's still close, I can understand their mentality, what's exciting, and how I can help motivate them and actually help them pursue if they want to start their own business or learn other career, trajectories.
And with your business, what business did you start? And is it a large company? And, what's that all about?
Yeah, so in January 2019, I started working on a business concept called Dog Drop. Essentially, we are reimagining the dog daycare experience. So we're launching physical locations. They're really small. They're modernized. We've developed our own software. So they're tech-enabled locations, membership model, really convenient, everything you'd expect from a startup, changing the traditional old school dog daycare industry. And then exactly 1 year later, so January 2020, we actually opened our first location, had an awesome year. There's been a major surge in dog ownership. I'm sure you or most people out here definitely know someone that's adopted a few pups along over the last few months or last 8 months, I guess. And so it's been a really great time to be in a growing market.
Of course. Now, talking about lacrosse, since you graduated in 2014, have you missed it? Have you been playing?
I've actually been fortunate enough to keep playing up until COVID. So when I said I moved to Shanghai, I moved to China for business school. One of the first things I did, actually before I even got there, about a month earlier, I found a women's league online and I started reaching out to them. I saw that they were based in Shanghai. So around my first or second week after moving, I was able to meet up and play my first game with the Shanghai Women's League, which was super awesome. I mean, that just is the sense of community that you can travel anywhere in the world and jump on the field with girls that, you don't have to speak their same language. You don't know anything, but when you got the stick in the ball, you can play with them, and ended up making awesome friends there that I knew for my 3.5 years over there. And then when I moved back to Los Angeles, I joined a women's league called Tri Check that plays between OC and LA. And then throughout COVID, definitely my stick's been in my closet since.
Now, when you were over in China, how was it, going from the US to China overseas, but then also being away from your family and friends?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm quite adventurous, so it wasn't a huge stretch. I think if you plopped me any city, I could, make friends, reach out to a group, make myself busy, essentially. Definitely FaceTime helps a lot, keeping in touch with people, and then having some sort of community, bonding over lacrosse. Or for me, I was in business school, so I was actually able to meet a whole new group of students and peers that were all brand new to the area, which helps. Rather, when you kind of move somewhere independently without a program, you're kind of in a brand new city and you don't have the same introductions like that freshman seminar and everything where everyone's new. It makes it a lot easier to make friends.
Of course. Now, talking about your experience attending Whittier College, how was it being a student athlete, and what did you really like about Whittier College that kind of ultimately drew you to choosing the institution?
Yeah, that's a great question, and actually something I still speak with many students or prospective athletes quite frequently. For me, it was really important at the time to have balance. Initially, my junior and senior year of high school, I was like very tunnel vision into playing D1. I was going to all the recruiting tournaments. I was going to go to play D1, and that was that. And that was kind of the trajectory I was on. And then somehow got in touch with Coach Emily at the time and Chris Fox, and I was like, these people are super cool, but I don't want to play D3. And I got to know them, and I got to meet the girls and go on my recruiting trip, and was like, okay, this is definitely different than what I thought I was going to do, but I knew it was right. And I'm so glad, because that gave me the opportunity to learn and pick up so many more skills beyond that identity as an athlete, first from being an athlete to then a student athlete to having the opportunity to study abroad actually twice, and then to join other clubs, all of that. And yeah, so definitely a awesome experience.
Of course. Now, you were talking about being recruited by Emily Hammer, and that kind of takes me into that next question. You were recruited by her, but then she ended up leaving the program with her husband, BJ Hammer, who was the football coach.
Yep.
And then seeing Stacey Williams come in to handle coaching duties and the program for a couple of years, but then she ended up leaving. And then you end up getting Trish Bonagura and Stacey Pasafumi for your senior year. What was that like with the carousel of coaches and different, technical drills and the coaching styles from all of them?
It's definitely a whirlwind, as you know, especially joining. I think it's the same thing when someone joins a company. You join because your manager or whoever inspires you, right? That's beyond the team. So for me, even as I had just mentioned, my mindset was set on some other schools. And then I got to know Coach Emily, which was a huge kind of reason I started getting into Whittier, and actually more specifically because Marley Moffitt, if you guys remember her, she actually worked with Coach Emily to help the recruiting process, and she would send me these handwritten cards with all of this stuff, and I just loved it, and we built an awesome relationship. So she was actually a huge reason why I selected Whittier. And then going from coach to coach, it's the same thing you have to when you have a different professor to get used to different teaching styles, different drills. Well, last season we did it this way, and last season we did it that way. And it's kind of to relearn and set that learning curve every year. Sometimes has some drawbacks, but overall it was interesting to learn from, a set of 3 different coaching styles. And that really helped my ability to act fast, to be flexible, to be responsive, and also, we still have the same expectation to perform no matter who's leading it. And it ended up, I definitely missed Coach Emily Hammer, but I ended up with a high. Trish and Stacy were great. So it was an awesome year to wrap up my senior collegiate year playing lacrosse.
Of course. Now, you did have an impressive 4-year career, being a 4-year letter winner. You were named All-SCIAC 3 times, named first team in 2014, your senior year. You were also named second team All-SCIAC in 2011 and 2012. You were named to the IWLCA Academic Honor Roll multiple times, along with the SCIAC All-Academic team. Right now in the Whittier College record books, you're one of the top 5 players in program history with the stats that you accumulated. Do you ever look back at accolades or stats, or was that ever on your mind when you played?
It was at the time, it was on my mind. I remember I'm always, for everything I do, I really focus on kind of mentally replaying. However, the kind of mindset, I just remember focusing on scoring. That was my goal. It's the same thing as right now. I'm CEO of a company. My goal is to perform, to increase revenue. At the time, as being an athlete, my goal was to score, to win games. So it's definitely a similar mindset. I just believe I had a lot of fun doing it. My freshman year was probably, for me, that was the best year. The senior class, and I think we'll speak about some of those players, but they were so awesome. We just had so much fun playing, and the more fun and the well-connected the girls and I were on the team, the better we played on the field.
Now, over your career, you played in 66 games. You totaled 210 goals, 37 assists, 122 ground balls, 109 draw controls, 54 caused turnovers, a 47% shot percentage, and a stellar 76% shot on goal percentage. Let's talk about how you contributed to the teams you played on, which had the likes of Carolyn Mukai, Nicole Yorba, Amy Serbo, Katie Clinton, Connie Jewell, just to name a few of some of these strong players you played with. You were part of some of the strongest teams in school history, which compiled 21 combined victories over your 4 years. How was it playing with some of these athletes, and was it pretty competitive at practice?
It was definitely competitive, and I think that's what only makes you a better player when you're, going after those ground balls. And Carolyn and I would go head to head on stuff. She was my favorite person to go against, especially when we were running sprints or something. I wanted to go against the fastest people on the team to continue to push yourself. We just had a lot of fun doing it, being competitive at practice, but still having fun, knowing that at the end, we're all on the same team, even if we're playing 7v7 on practice. When that drill ends, we're back to being on the same team, right? Rather than the purple and white bibs that we had on 5 minutes ago. And then to bring that kind of team mentality onto the field when we were playing our opponents.
Now, at Whittier College, you were involved in a number of clubs, organizations. You did athletics, academics. How were you able to balance everything going on in your life?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons I was so interested into playing D3 at the end, where I didn't realize that at the time, but how critical that would, turn my life. Right now I would have probably never gone to business school in China if I didn't have that first kind of exposure to study abroad and have these opportunities to take extra business courses with Dr. Duran, who really motivated me into international business. At the time, one of my, most exciting in a group I'm really proud of was the group that we were able to recover the food from the CI and then donate that. And that's something that it was really exciting. I was president of that club, and it's still running today. We would be able to donate hundreds of pounds of leftover CI food. And we know I love the Bon Appetit, the cooks, from everyone to Marty, when Marty was at the front, who really made the Whittier College experience super friendly. And so to donate that food, and, I'm still part of other community service service groups now, and then that really something that led me to meet other people on campus that I wouldn't have been able to do if I was only a student athlete. I met people from different clubs. I was also part of the newspaper and wrote and contributed many articles. I met an entirely different group of people in every club and really opened up my eyes.
Of course. And Marty still to this day, still working for Bon Appetit, and she still is very supportive of our athletes, and everybody knows her and like the rest of the staff, like you talked about. And it's great to see, and she still comments on social medias and the posts that we make. And so it's really nice to see that. Absolutely.
I still probably speak with Marty more than aunts, cousins that I have, whether it's on Facebook, just a quick comment or a quick response. Marty's made a lasting impact, and definitely my college and post-college experience, and I'm sure for many other students that I know of.
Of course. Now, the last question I have for you today is, are there any words of advice for athletes who are still attending Whittier College, who are kind of maybe looking to get more involved, or maybe future recruits who are looking to become poets but are kind of on the fence of, should I choose Whittier College? What are some good words of advice for these individuals?
And keep your mind open. As much as it's super important to be dedicated to your sport, to be able to perform and be the best student athlete that you can be. Obviously, your academics are your number one priority, then your sport, but then also to take advantage of the opportunities. Like I mentioned, joining clubs, other groups, even if you're not interested or you don't think you are into journalism, sign up for that newspaper class. You might just learn something that you never thought you would like. And then you can meet students outside your typical group. As we know, and I'll speak, I know I was on the lacrosse team and we had the lacrosse house and all the parties and everything, and things can get cliquey, and that's kind of the nature of any sports, and that comes with a lot of positive things as well as team bonding and having a really good group of teammates. But also it's important to see what other students are on campus.
Of course. Well, Shaina, that's all the time we have for our Alumni Feature Friday today. Thank you so much for hopping on with me. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything, in your future endeavors with the company you have going on. And hopefully we'll be able to see you at the next alumni game, hopefully this upcoming year.
All right. I might not be as fast as I was, but I can still put it in the back of the net. Okay. So thanks for having me.
I'm looking forward to that, and can't wait to see you in person again.
Okay. Have a good one.